And while several cities and states have made strides to attract crypto investments over the past decade, Wyoming Governor Mark Gordon describes the state as the most crypto-friendly place in the United States. He might be onto something. And Wyoming has enacted dozens of bills that either mention crypto-related terminology or are sponsored by a legislative committee that's dedicated to all things blockchain and technology. The tally, the 28 since 2019, according to data compiled by Bloomberg, leads the nation. This far outpaces Utah in second place with 15 bills of its own. The momentum comes along with millions in spending and a significant amount of legislative hours. Efforts proponents say are necessary to ensure the economic diversification in a state that's going heavily reliant on revenue from fossil fuels, including oil, natural gas, and coal. On average, some 60% of discretionary state revenue comes from either taxes on mineral extraction investment income created by legacy mineral development, according to data from the Wyoming Legislative Office spanning back to 2000. But so far, returns haven't matched investments. In total, all possible sources of state revenue attributable to crypto in Wyoming add up to less than $500,000, data compiled by Bloomberg show. In contrast, the Wyoming State Legislature has appropriated nearly $2 million on applications related to crypto. Wyoming needs economic diversification. The state's U.S. Senator Cynthia Lummis sent an email. Change takes time, and our state needs to think strategically about its future prosperity. One of those efforts in crypto and blockchain includes spearheading legislation at the federal level. Beyond read it.
Crypto savvy U.S. Senator sees the future in Wyoming.
There is some evidence of crypto making inroads in Wyoming. More than 1,000 LLCs with some variant of crypto, blockchain, or DAO in their name have signed up in the state, according to data from the Wyoming Secretary of State's office. Even the University of Wyoming is engaging in crypto with a lab that has projects running on the Cardano blockchain. As a diversifier of our economy, it's already having an impact, and it will continue to grow, Gordon said, of blockchain. The desire for diversification has been an effort that the state has grappled with for decades, said Phil Roberts, an emeritus professor of history at the University of Wyoming. The state's economic history is littered with booms and subsequent busts from natural resource products. During booms, the majority of people want to ride the wave and diversify after, he said. When the bust comes, it's too late, so that's happened with minerals, coal, with oil. It's happened even with cattle. Roberts said it's happened at least a dozen times in the state's history. The pragmatic policymakers in Wyoming have understood that those are finite resources with finite lifetimes, and that our dependence on them is not going to sustain us forever, said the state Senator Chris Rothfuss, who's been involved in crypto legislation for the last 7 years. Steve Lupian, who runs the Center for Blockchain and Digital Innovation at the University of Wyoming, said the state wants to try the exact opposite approach to the federal government, and then embrace this business here in the United States, create an enabling regulatory environment, and you won't get the scammers, Lupian said. The scammers are operating because we don't have a clear regulatory environment, except in Wyoming. So at the federal level, regulators from the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission to the IRS have sought to rein in crypto's excesses, while Lummis has called the collapse of crypto exchange FTX a good old-fashioned fraud. She said it was a relatively isolated incident that had nothing to do with the underlying economics of the asset class. FTX founder and former CEO Sam Bankman-Fried, who is scheduled to stand trial in October, has denied all the allegations against him. So far, crypto hasn't moved the needle for Wyoming's Treasury, which is already restricted by the absence of corporate income tax revenue attributable to a flagship program, an annual supervision fee for digital asset firms,
has contributed less than $8,000 since it launched in October 2019. The account also holds $200,000 from separate one-time fees.
By contrast, a similar program in New York is projected to generate $5.8 million for the fiscal year 2023, 2024, and Rothfuss acknowledges the limitations, blaming them on the way the state structured its revenue opportunities more broadly. Regrettably, the Wyoming revenue structure is rubbish, designed to rely upon the minerals industry, he said. This is a separate challenge Wyoming must address. And I will, democracy I short a few of them wanting to provide a stable coin in 2006. But stablecoin members also and infinitely with Bill Boss, the jobs at corporate registrations in Wyoming are surging with more than 41,000 new filings in the first quarter of 2023, compared with just over 3,000 in 2009's first quarter. Annual reports in the first quarter have also ballooned to more than 70,000 in 2023, more than tripling since 2009, the earliest year provided by Wyoming's Secretary of State Business Division. Limited liability corporations that register in Wyoming are required to pay a $100 initial fee and an annual report fee. Registration fees have already brought in almost $30 million this year, according to the Secretary of State's Business Division. But crypto has been a minor contributor to that revenue since 2017, when local lawmakers first started embracing the asset class. Company registrations with either crypto, blockchain, or DAO in their name have generated less than $250,000, according to Bloomberg calculations. Lee Reiners, lecturing fellow at the Duke Financial Economics Center, said he was unpersuaded that the state can successfully foster an entire industry. Wyoming lacks the requisite infrastructure, Reiners argued. Why does Silicon Valley become this tech hub? Why did Detroit become the automotive hub in the mid-20th century? It wasn't just because there were one or two great innovative companies, Reiner said. I just don't see that happening in Wyoming in their categories. Despite the challenges, government officials remain committed. Lumish said in an email that crypto assets and distributed ledger technologies are the future of finance. And Gordon believes his role is to be a cautious steward in the face of crypto's inherent volatility and frequent upheavals. I love the fact that we're the most crypto-friendly in place in the United States, he said. That doesn't mean that we want to make it a playground for evildoers. This state is trying to become America's blockchain capital.